Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're thrilled to death that you are listening to our show. This is a little bit of a special one.
An impromptu.
Yeah, an impromptu.
That's right.
It's much fancier with the accent. We have to think of another color jacket to give to people who've been on like this many times.
Yeah, I think we'll give them the gold lame jacket.
Gold lame.
Guest, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Jeff Schroeder, Smashing Pumpkins. I don't know how many. This is like the fifth time.
I think you're. I think you might be on
six.
the
Six.
Yeah.
So, but this is special because
Six-timer.
this is the second time in person.
That's true.
Because we did with Drew in your previous location.
Well, actually, we did we did one in your very
Dressing room.
sparse dressing room in up north in Ohio. Yeah.
Okay,
that's
so this
right.
is the third in person.
This is the third in person.
Second in studio.
Second in studio. Thank you. Yes, we're losing some gravity of the situation.
Now,
really.
if you're on one more time, you get the gold lame jacket as well as the pants.
Yeah.
Total Elvis.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's gonna happen.
Good. Well, so you're here because the band that you're kind of playing with right now.
Yeah, for the last 15 years.
Yeah. So why don't you just tell us about what's going on right now with that?
We're just at the tail end of what we've called the Rock Invasion 2 tour, which was actually originally scheduled to happen like March of 2020, I believe, or maybe April. So finally getting to it, and yeah, it's been great. And we've played a few big festivals, and we have one on Sunday in Chillicothe, Illinois, which is near Peoria, which should be interesting because it's more like it's like a weird EDM jam band festival, and why they wanted us to come play to bring our dark cloud to their good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But hey, we're kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And so between playing some big festivals, we've been playing some of our own solo shows in between, and took a little trip down to Mexico, which was awesome. So I think it was really good for us to kind of come and get our feet wet again before we launch into our big arena rock tour in the fall with Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess for those who maybe for some reason haven't heard any of the other 4 or 5 episodes, Jeff, explain what you do.
I guess I'm one of the guitar players in the band, and
Smashing Pumpkins.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Yes.
Yes, in the Smashing Pumpkins. But also, do I have some side projects. One which is called Night Dreamer, and then I've been releasing some solo music. And actually, since I moved back to LA, I guess it's been 2 years, but I've been actually producing quite a few bands, and so that stuff's coming out.
Awesome.
Actually, my old band, the Lassie Foundation, my old kind of noise pop shoegaze band, is we've been on a campaign of re-releasing all our old albums, getting them remastered and putting up on streaming because they were, I guess, semi-owned by all these small indie labels in the 90s that have, for the most part, gone out of business. And so we actually had a hard time tracking everybody down and getting the rights. And so we've finally done all that and getting everything remastered and pressed on vinyl. So we've done the first 2 releases, and strangely, we had no idea what the response would be. And so, the last thing we wanted to do was, print up a bunch of vinyl and then have it sit in someone's garage for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? So we decided to do a Kickstarter, and we were just, overwhelmed by the response. So it was great. So since the response was so great, we kept on doing kind of these stretch goals. And so we've actually recorded a live EP of some old material that just came out, and then we're recording a new EP of new music as well. So that's been really rewarding, really fun. So, and the response to that has been great, and it's that's been really nice to kind of reconnect my past with the present. So it's just lots of good stuff going on right now.
Yeah, so many people in life right now, and I can only say that based on my age and everything. We started out, everybody cut their teeth on something.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of music that was in that never was big enough to get necessarily released, and also was too far before the digital wave. So there's so much music out there that's just kind of laying in this netherworld of what do you do? How do you get it? What do you do with it?
Yeah, that's kind of what happened. I mean, we released those records there was a label out of Champaign-Urbana, Illinois that put it out, and then they sold all their catalog to some entity, and so someone else was like putting this stuff up digitally, but we weren't, of course, getting any of the money from it. And the one record, Pacifico, actually, I mean, we figured we must have sold like 8,000 to 10,000 copies of that record, and of course, never saw a dime from it and that kind of stuff. So it was just so we were just like, hey, let's track it all down and release it properly, and then we'll at least own it for the rest of our lives.
That's cool.
So it's been really nice. Yeah, and then in that, after we started doing that, this really cool label from Japan, a record store in Japan wanted to. They were like, hey, we would like to do some pressings of this one of our later records, and so lots of good stuff, lots of good energy happening. Because I think because of digital streaming and all these different genres and all these catalogs being available, so if there's a kid who's like, hey, I'm really into shoegaze music, and after you exhaust My Bloody Valentine and Ride and Slow Dive, you start digging for more, and you're like, oh, there's this band and this band and this band. So we're seeing a lot of interest from not just our peers, but from younger people as well. So it's pretty cool.
You think that there's touring interest in the future?
No, not on my part. No, I mean, Smashing is enough, and as great as it is to play with the guys, in the band, like, I'm really the only one that's a professional musician. So they all have regular day jobs and stuff.
Right.
It's just a lot to even get together to play.
To do it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Or to get anything finished, you know what I mean? Because I'm really the only one working on music full time.
Right.
Frank the drummer does full time. He's
Frank the drummer?
Frank the drummer. He's actually a full time musician too, and so he has his own studio. So but everybody else, like I said, they're working 9 to 5s and stuff. So I think it's pretty unrealistic,
Sure.
with the cost of living and stuff, to go out and play to know people. And,
Sure. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned solo work. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I released one song it's about a year ago now, and I had planned on to do more, but then I got sidetracked doing other things. So I have, I'm going to release a 5-song EP by the end of summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was, the name is tricky for me to pronounce.
It's called Haenim, which means the sun in Korean.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was influenced by a Korean band, was it?
Oh, it's a cover of basically a Korean psych folk song.
Okay.
Yeah. By this, it was written by the guitarist Shin Jun Hyung, and he was kind of like, I guess, to use an analogy, he's like the Jimi Hendrix of South Korea, and
Nice.
he was one of the first like rock and roll guitar players, and is really the kind of the defining figure of the Korean psych sound. And so he put out he had his own band, and he put out lots of solo music, but he also produced and wrote for other people. So that song in particular was for a female, a woman named Kim Jung-mi, and what's that album called? Now. Yeah. And that's the first song on the record. So it's this really cool kind of psych folk kind of thing.
It really was. It's like, that's one that you just like sit and listen to.
The original is all acoustic.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And yeah. So, but I always heard it, and I was like, oh, I know I can.
Yeah.
I would always hear it and go, I can do this full blown, fuzzed out shoegaze version of this song. And so,
well, it's what I found interesting was I could hear basically what you just said is like, if left to your own devices to do something, like, you really like opened up the box on that one.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting thing about songwriting and producing and just recording is in the DNA of songs, there's all these other versions, in it, and that's part of kind of like the sometimes a band's work, right? Is oftentimes someone in the band, like say in Pumpkins, Billy will bring in a song, and he's just written it on piano or acoustic guitar, and part of the work of the band is finding out what is the coolest version of that song, and it could be done in 20 different ways. Yeah, so I think that many songs have all these different kind of other lives.
Now, do you prefer or do you find it equally as rewarding to do everything yourself, have complete control, or to collaborate?
I like both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that as an artist, I like having the space to do both. Sometimes, I think it's really healthy for me, to have my own creative space where I call all the shots and I get to do whatever I want, and for better or for worse, and I don't really have to put the pressure on it if it's like to make like a living from it or anything. It's just purely I'm doing it just for me.
Yeah.
And that feels really nice, and then I love like producing other bands where I'm just making suggestions and then they take a suggestion and just run with it or put their own spin on it. Or I've been doing a lot too because I'm in the studio so much in LA that I just end up playing a lot of other people's tracks. So I've been doing a lot of that too. I've been like on 4 or 5 songs that are coming out by other bands just because I'm there. My friend owns a studio, and he'll be like, "Oh, I'm mixing this song for this band that needs a solo. Do you mind playing on it?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, of course." So that's really fun too. Like I really love being able to do stuff like that. So yeah, I like it all. Cool. I like to in it, and it's it's what's really been interesting is because I've put so much focus only on the Pumpkins, the last 15 years of my life, and then doing Night Dreamer was great with Mindy because that was totally different energy, and then working with other bands is really refreshing to see how other bands work as well.
Yeah, I'm sure the variety keeps it very interesting for you.
Yeah, and I think it's good because I think if you get too set in your ways, especially as you get older, what I mean? It's, usually it's not a good thing.
No. No.
So I like being exposed to see how other people like to work as well. And yeah.
Cool.
Night Dreamer really caught me by the whatevers. I don't know what's a good thing to say. The really grabbed my attention. We'll just say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was when that came out, it was exciting to hear. It felt like it had a kind of a new. There's a lot of different influences in that.
Yeah.
And it also felt very malleable. You could put that in between so much different kinds of music.
Yeah.
And actually went out and I was able to catch a show in Los Angeles, which was really cool. And it was interesting because I think we're, at least I am, and these guys are used to seeing like the show, the big Smashing Pumpkins thing. Yeah. And, you were running around with a laptop and you had a LED net in the back, and it felt really interesting and unique. Like you were really working that.
Yeah. That was an interesting night that you said because we played actually 2 shows that night.
Yeah, you ran from another show.
Yeah, we opened for Peter Hook at the Wiltord.
Right.
We played in front of like 2,500 people, and then ran across town and played a club show for 200 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was fun. No, it's obviously hard for me to maintain other projects because of I can't always really commit much time because I'll say like, yeah, I'm available to do all this stuff, and then Smashing Pumpkins calls and be like, hey, you're doing this and doing this and doing this, and that's always going to take precedent as it should. Do you know what I mean? So,
right. Well, and aside from touring, you got all the press and shows
and recording schedule. I mean, we just did a 33-song record, so you imagine how long a 33-song record takes. You know what I mean? So, I really loved playing in that band, and I hope that we can do stuff in the future because I really loved. At the very tail end, we were able to add even a keyboard player too, and I felt like that was the perfect combination. He ran the tracks, played keyboards, and I really liked having. It's like a different type of 3-piece.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Really fun, really, because, I still played all the guitar live. You know what I mean? And,
right. But it was a different kind of guitar. It was
Yeah.
like it wasn't crazy flourishing leads at all. It was actually like felt very restrained, which is I likened it a little bit to some of the EDM music that I particularly favor, like No Mana and Black Gummy and stuff like that. And there's a little bit of a restraint. It's just not, hey, here's the Gonzo guitar stuff. And even the music that you were creating in her voice, I think early on I sent I was like, I could absolutely see you guys walking on stage, if like Deadmau5 mixed that or something like that. Like that would be ridiculous.
No, that was the goal was to be like be in the moment, be whatever 2019 is what it was. You know what I mean? Like just be in the present and just and for me as a guitar player it was really fun to kind of like, well, how can I voice what I do against this backdrop that's more contemporary, rather than a traditional guitar, bass, and drums. You know what I mean? So had to play totally different set of guitar sounds. It was really fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you guys are able to kickstart a little bit something more in the future because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
personally.
Thank you.
But so one thing that you mentioned, and I think maybe we can talk about this new album a little bit. But you said something about when you come in and if Billy's got a song to bring in, and you guys have to figure out what are all the threads that are weaving this musical tapestry, if you will. And I'm just curious, do you find that with the type of music that you're doing, and you are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-piece, correct?
Really 5-piece.
5?
Yeah.
I think you're not carrying the keyboards this time?
No. Yeah, Jimmy and I actually are just fun songs. Like we're both playing keys a bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, do you think sometimes we hear like, oh yeah, that song happened in 10 minutes. I went to the bathroom, wrote it, and I came back out, and there it was, poof. Or are they like time frame? How does that work with you?
Oh, I would say like on Pumpkins, things evolve over months now. Especially the bigger the project. There's like, I'm sure Billy has his original demo, which is going to be like acoustic or piano, right? And then there's like the first demo, which is going to be some kind of drum machine basic thing, and then that gets sent out to like James and I, and then we'll add like things on top of that, and then it'll be like, okay, we're moving beyond the demo. Now we're doing like the record, like the real version where you try and point the ship in the right direction. And so I would say then we went through, for like say on this new record, all the songs, and then as soon as we went through like say like the real version once, Billy went and retooled like 12 of them because he was like, this still isn't working. You know what I mean? And we got to like figure, you know what I mean? And he would go, I want to take this and take that, but I'm going to redo this and redo that. And, let's chop up the drums and process them this way. And then, so, I mean, we're talking like evolution over to the last minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of kind of the old school way of doing things. Like, that's how a lot of the greatest albums that we know of evolved over a great amount of time.
Very much studio creations, not against the backdrop of a band playing in the room. You know what I mean? I think that's... Bands play like that early on, but then as you get kind of beyond that, you end up using the studio as the creative space.
Good.
Yeah.
That was actually my next question. Is that being done all in the studio time? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think we'd spend much time in the room jamming together.
Sure.
Yeah. Anymore.
Do you find when you're playing those songs live? Are there some changes even from the recorded versions, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Because once you're playing in front of people, they don't always translate one-to-one, and so you have to find, like, you have to either restrain certain things or exaggerate certain elements, or play things slightly differently. So there always is the live interpretation. Like actually on this tour, we've been playing a song called "Black Forest, Black Hills" off of Sear, and the studio version, I don't know if it even has any, I don't think it has any guitar on it. I think it became an all synth song. Mm-hmm. But live, we're playing it with 3 guitars. And it's super cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
It's not, and again, it's not like one is better than the other. It's just different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. Like each song can exist in multiple lives.
Yeah.
So is the result of playing together for so long keep three guitarists from stepping on each other's parts, do you think?
I think, you know, why it just kind of works in this band is we're all different. You know, we're all, you know, I guess we're similar in a way that we come from a similar era and we kind of understand and hear music, you know, in a similar way. But then we also have like our strengths, you know, and so we tend to try to let everybody emphasize their strengths since you have three people, right? You know? And that's where so then usually that makes it like pretty obvious who's going to do what.
Do you mind talking about those strengths a little bit?
Well, you know, like like James is so great at doing like off the wall, atmospheric, like left of center kind of stuff that really kind of makes, so if we're playing something kind of heavy, it makes that something heavy sound like weird and cyber and psychedelic. You know what I mean? And so obviously if it's something more of like a full blown, like more like in super intense metal kind of lead or something, I usually do stuff like that. And you know what I mean? And play like more kind of melodic counterpoints to what Billy does. Like if he's singing and someone's playing something, I'll, you know, often play counter to what he's doing, you know. And then obviously Billy has his thing, which is, you know, really what the band's guitar sound is built around, you know, his style.
Yeah. Well, I think, Tony, that was a good question because at the heart, each of you three are pretty stellar lead players. And sometimes it can be tricky, even if you're listening, like who's doing what.
Yeah.
And the rhythms are even really complex. So it's I can only imagine that takes a great amount of time and familiarity to be able to dance like that without doing that.
Yeah, you know, and I've been playing with Billy for so long now that like when we, especially live, when we double rhythms, it's like I can double him like pretty tight because I'm just used to his like playing his rhythm style, because that's, you know, that's a big part of the band. When you're playing something like Cherub Rock, it's like having, like, you got to play in sync.
Yeah,
you can't be doing your own thing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, he can.
Yeah. Well, and he's singing, you know, so like in our ears, you know, because we're on in-ears, like I have him, you know, like panned like hard right, you know, almost hard right, hard left, so I can really hear it, so I can lock in with what he's doing, then have kind of more James up the middle. So yes, but if we're both playing something really rhythmically that needs to be tight, I can really, you know, I can hear it in stereo, so I can really lock in.
I would imagine that with every tour you go out on, there are certain songs that you look forward to playing, maybe more than others. I'm not saying that all your children aren't equally loved. But is there a particular song that on the tour right now that you just absolutely get a rush on when you're like, oh, here we go, we're going to do this one?
Yeah, I love, like we've been playing, since actually we started playing in September, we've been playing Quiet off of Siamese Dream, and that one's really fun.
Big. That is a force.
That one's so fun to play. And then we've been doing this kind of fun cover of Once in a Lifetime by the Talking Heads. But super doom, like heavy. It does. I mean, musically, it's not. It doesn't sound the same at all. It's just the same lyrics, basically.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear, specifically on Quiet. I'm just going to touch on this one moment. Jimmy Chamberlain is my favorite drummer of all time. Period. End of story.
I mean, you know, literally. I mean, I hate to, you know, I'm not just because biased, because you know I play with him, but he's one of the greatest rock and roll drummers ever. Yeah.
I might have scared him because the last time we met, I couldn't. I was like, I gotta say, you're my drum hero.
Was it a Chris
guy.
Farley moment?
I felt bad, but I was like, well, you know, your music has made a huge impact on me. I want to share that. Anyways, I think it's in particular that song, as it is a just dragster of guitar, right? It's just blazing. And every time I listen to that, I still find myself to be a little bit surprised, because in the middle of that dragster, here comes Jimmy with this snare, just crack, 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 and somehow he's cutting through all of that. It's
He's-
always
it's called
impressive to hear that.
hitting the snare very hard,
man.
and quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
No, and the way, like, I mean, a lot of it just is his tone.
Yeah.
The way he hits the drums, it's just exquisite tone.
Yeah.
Always.
yeah. Well, we also have a lot of bass players on the show. Can you tell us about Jack a little bit?
Jack is, very flies under the radar, but I think if you listen to maybe older Pumpkins live versus, this war era, obviously our tempos are a lot more contained. And I think Jack, number one, really, his time is so steady that he's actually kind of like a human metronome for Jimmy to so Jimmy's a lot freer to play whatever he wants because he's got Jack there to lock in on time.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so as a rhythm section, it really keeps things like super solid. And so then the guitars really can sit on top of that super solid foundation.
Yeah.
And then I think that the second thing that really, which maybe people wouldn't understand is, because Pumpkins, we like to play heavy, but we're not a heavy metal band. And I think it comes down to the fundamental feel of, in the DNA of the band, is that marriage of kind of post-punk, new wave, and heavy guitar. And if you listen to that kind of music, new wave music, the driving eighths, where, say, metal is more on the backside, like kind of that Zeppelin, Sabbath kind of thing, new wave is very kind of front pushed. Do 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 do. Just a little more on the front. And since Jack plays, obviously his dad is Peter Hook from Joy Division and New Order, and he plays that music in his dad's band, he really has that feel. So he plays heavy with the new wave feel, which is like, that's the winning combination for Smashing Pumpkins. And again, like, so even if someone's going like, oh, it's simple, it's just following the guitar, it's not as simple as you would think to make a band sound great.
Right. And that's probably
to
something that
sound
you
right.
really needed there. You didn't need a fourth guitar player.
No, but it's got to have that, the feel, the pushes have to be in the right places. The way you kind of feel that eighth note pulse has to be the right way.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your new album. Do you have a title yet?
No. I don't anyway. Billy probably does in his head, but I don't know it. Yeah. Because nothing. It's like the record is basically just done. Do you know what I mean? And is in the process of being mixed. So it's like it's not like, hey, it's at the presses or anything.
Sure.
So,
Is there? Can you give us any kind of description or liken it to anything that you've already done?
I would say that it is very in one way it's a very modern Smashing Pumpkins record, like say like Sear, but with even more diversity, in terms. So it's like, and then old school in the way that it has a lot of different types of songs, but it's still very much, it's not a throwback record by any stretch of the imagination, but it has like heavy songs, super electronic songs, mellow songs, like everything in between. So it was designed to be that kind of record where it would really have this really broad width of styles and motions and tones and textures and all that kind of stuff.
You're gonna lead me into a question about instrumentation in a second, but I'm curious. Like 33 songs, it's a lot for a single output.
Couldn't you get done a third more so you'd have 33 and a third?
I know one extra one, like a little like a hidden track.
Yeah. Is there other than just the idea that this is some sort of a concept or a held moment in time? Is that why wouldn't you split that up into like a couple of releases?
Because I think there is a story. It is a concept album.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I can dig it. Okay.
Yeah.
And will we hear some of those at your show tonight?
No. We're not playing anything new. Yeah.
Okay.
But that means in the future
In
we
the
will.
future, we will.
That's right.
Yeah. By the
Great.
fall, I think so. for sure. Absolutely. If not, there's a big problem. But, yeah.
Cool.
Now, last time that I saw you guys live, you had all the amps and everything under stage.
Yeah.
Clean stage look. Is that still? Have you been touring that way?
I was going to ask that too. Yeah.
Yeah. We use amps and cabinets and stuff, but we just have them in isolation
Nice.
boxes off stage, just so he has a clean stage, which is better for singing because there's no noise getting in the vocal mic and drums.
Well, visually, yeah, I think that was very impressive.
Well, sometimes we kind of miss, like, we talk about, like, should we just get fake walls? You know what I mean? Because of the amps, because, we kind of miss having the look. You know what I mean? But for sound and sonics, and honestly for the drums, because you can use overhead mics and stuff because there's no...
Right.
So
There's
you get
nothing
like...
else.
So for front of house, they really love it. You know what I mean? So...
Yeah. And one thing I like about, at least from what I've seen about this particular show, the tour that you're doing is, on the previous one, there was all kinds of fantastic things all over the stage, and that became part of the entire show. But this one is basically almost, it's just light.
Yeah, it's old school. Yeah.
which is
There's
really
no
cool.
extra production, like no video, no visuals. But that in the... in that Shiny tour, I mean, we're playing 3 hours and 20 minutes. So you had to have,
Sure.
something. This is like, we're like hour 40 to 2 hours, depending on what the curfew is.
Right.
So, because I didn't realize, I think going into this, we didn't realize all these places were outdoor. And outdoor places always have like a fairly early curfew because of noise. Yeah.
Yeah. Instrumentation wise. Where your instrument?
Oh, me.
Yeah, your gear choices. Where?
Well, one thing I actually switched. On this tour, I'm using new amps, and so that's like kind of the biggest change. And I'm using the Rev Generator 120, which is like fantastic, super modern. All the bells and whistles, 4-channel high gain head. So it has like channel 1 is like a Fendery, sparkly clean. Then channel 2 is like more of like the vintage voice, like say like Plexi to JCM 800, and then channels 3 and 4 are just like full blown, like ultra, like saturated high gain. And each channel has quite a bit of, kind of like a boogie or something like that, where it has quite a bit of like push button functions, like high, cut, fat, so you can add all these different things. So, and then the head is all MIDI, so you can have all this programmed in presets and stuff as well. And another fantastic thing about it is it has a 2-notes torpedo load box built in, so you don't even have to plug the head into a cabinet.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So you can go directly at it and load. It comes with, really great impulse responses from 2-notes and stuff already built in, but you can also use your own as well. And so actually my ears, I monitor off the 2-notes, off the impulse response, because I have a cabinet and mic combination that I really love. It's super consistent, sounds exactly the same every night, and it sounds awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. It sounds exactly the same as when I'm at home.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's what you want.
Yeah, so that is, to me, the marriage of the best of analog and digital. You're getting full tube, transformer, everything, the amp working, saturation, which honestly, there's still nothing like it, but then you get the control of the, having like something like, impulse response type of cabinet. Because honestly, I really don't love the sound of the cabinet in the ISO box. Because, you're putting a super loud cabinet in a road case with foam. It has all these weird reflections. It's really a compromise. And so I feel like the impulse response is not a compromise. It's actually very high fidelity.
And what's getting fed to the board?
Both.
Okay.
So, the soundman, he gets to choose whatever he wants.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that's it's an interesting point that you made, because I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. It's the why would I take something that is tube driven, run it into digital? Because it's like that. Am I not just killing the thing that I am trying to maintain?
Yeah. Honestly, in my opinion, it sounds better than the mic'd cabinet in the ISO box.
Totally fair.
You know what I mean?
Totally
It sounds, it sounds a lot better in my opinion.
Well, you brought up another good point, which is especially for you because you're playing, stadiums and stuff where if you're playing at home, you're going to have it's going to be a completely different, not only physical response to it, but sonic differently. It's just it's going to be completely different. And for people that are trying to practice in their home and then maybe going to a band rehearsal and then are out gigging, that's 3 potentially different types of response that you're getting.
Yeah.
So whatever you had set up on your amp and your pedals in your house or wherever you might be working to create and probably can't go full blown show volume, even if it's just a gig, then showing up at the gig and you're like, oh, you have to turn everything up. Well, that's going to affect everything.
Yeah.
And that is a tricky thing. I kind of struggle with a little bit.
Yeah, well, especially if your amp is, very much going to change the sound depending on where the volume knob is.
Yeah.
And an amp like that I'm using, because it's so much preamp driven and the power amp is actually very clean, it's less than you would think. You know what I mean? So obviously the way the speaker pushes is different.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you miss that buckle of the back of your knees?
I mean, sometimes, but we've been on in-ears for so long that I'm just used to hearing, that's the thing is, it doesn't matter what you're doing, what amp you're using, what type of amp, standing in front of it versus hearing it through a microphone through either a pair of studio monitors or headphones or in-ears is 2 completely different experiences. If you're playing a bigger place, the audience is hearing the mic'd cabinet. They're not hearing the sound off the stage, really, right?
Yeah.
So, I think you just got to, as a professional, you just got to get used to that's you have to learn. That's like a big part of learning, like how to make sure your sound is translating out front. Mm-hmm. And so having something like the 2 notes built in the head gives me actually, I'm getting to translate the sound that I really want to front of house because I can sit there and go, well, I know what it's sounding like out there.
Right.
Closer than like, hey, oh man, my God, this sounds great. But then, what mics? I mean, a mic is basically a big EQ unit. Radically changes the sound of what people hear. Radically. Now,
when you're in the studio, are you using the direct out or are you recording off speakers?
I've used the head in sessions and we just use the direct out. We do.
That's easy.
Yeah. We do. We usually use the direct out. But on this Pumpkins, I use a lot of combo amps and stuff. So most, and then we're just miking stuff too. So yeah.
How about guitars?
Still using all Yamahas. There's such I just love my relationship with them has been just incredible. Just great. And I'm very lucky in that I get to, play whatever I want. They build me things to my specifications. They work on vintage guitars for me that I've picked up along the way. So I'm very lucky and fortunate, and they've treated me so great over the years. And so it's fun for me. So I'm using my Pacificas still, my custom Pacificas, but a lot on this tour, actually, they just came out with the new version of the Rev Star, which is like a double cut.
Right.
Type of guitar. And the ones I'm using have 2 humbuckers. And the new design is incredible. I mean, much a huge improvement over the first. And I liked some of those, but these are incredible guitars.
What kind of improvement?
Like feel, kind of that. I guess what I would call ergonomics.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's that's.
Are they still as chunky? I found them to be a little on the chunky side.
I don't think so. I feel like the neck is pretty thick, you know what I mean? But that's probably why they sound pretty good. You know what I mean? I tend to think thicker necks do have like a that's, people think a lot as a body. I think, the neck is a big part of kind of the fundamental tone. the way it balances, the way that it kind of moves across the body. So the kind of left to right hand connection is
Sure.
very natural. Feels really good. The weight is actually good, and because they're chambered now, and so I think they don't feel as chunky
Yeah.
on you. Yeah, so they're chambered, and then I have one of the. I think it's called the Premier, the middle series. And then I have one which is called the Professional series, which is the ones made in Japan. And the one made in Japan, they do some type of treatment to the wood. It's supposed to make it like it's been played for,
Oh,
a
interesting.
few
Yeah.
thousand hours. And they actually has a couple, in addition to the chambers, they put these kind of like some type of metal-based rods inside that kind of shape the EQ and tone of the guitar near the
Oh.
bridge. And I mean, I honestly think it makes a difference because because the two guitars are identical other than, the wood treatment and the tone rods. And I think, it does have like that other, like that 5% more of articulation. As you guys know, as players, that 5% is the hardest to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what's that worth to some people when you're playing on a big stage with 3 guitar players and you want
Every
that?
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth it. You know what I mean? That's what you're paying all this, like these, using these super expensive amps and these guitars because that 5 to 10% more of clarity is everything.
Yeah.
That makes a sound man love or hate you.
Aesthetically, is that the same?
The guitar's a little bit bigger. The body is a little bit bigger, but generally looks the same.
Cool.
Like, maybe most people on the street would be like, wouldn't totally notice, but the body is bigger, but they sound phenomenal. And then I got I was telling you guys about, but I haven't told, this. And then I have it was, somewhere 66 to 68. They built this model. It's a Yamaha SG2, which is basically an offset kind of surf guitar thing that they made in the 60s that actually Link Ray used to play them.
Oh, okay.
So if you ever watch any Link Ray videos.
The SG2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Drew Foppy, my previous tech. Hi, Drew. I love Drew. And he actually,
all love Drew.
he hit me up and he's like, dude, this guy in Arizona, because that's where Drew lives, says selling this guitar and it's a steal, blah, 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 blah. I said, yeah, just buy it. I'll pay you back, whatever. So he shipped it to me. It had no frets, the paint was all stripped off. It needed a lot of work. And so I sent it to Yamaha. They refretted it for me. We put jumbo stainless steel.
Oh, yeah, right on.
So it plays incredible. They potted the pickups because they were, not potted. Yeah. And the one thing that, as I mentioned to you guys, off air, we decided to put them, since we were refinishing the guitar, we decided to put a modern tremolo system. So we used the Descendant, Jazz Master style tremolo, and it stays in tune phenomenal. And the guitar honestly sounds incredible. I have to say, like the pickups, like when the Yamaha custom shop, when they finished, they were like, holy smokes, like these pickups, whatever's going on.
Oh, and they kept the original pickups?
Everything, even the wiring, the tone pot,
Oh, wow.
everything is original. Yeah. So maybe you can maybe explain to like probably what's going on there, but
I had the same thing with an old Teisco. That was the shark fin Teisco.
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
were single coil about that same size. And the same experience. I didn't expect the full, thick, juicy sound, for lack of better terms, out of those pickups that I did. And so that's kind of a similar.
exactly. Like
I'm like, what's going on with
the
these?
guitar sounds clean, super clear, bell-like, articulate vibe, but distorted. It sounds big and fat and warm, and
Well,
just shocked-
aesthetically, it's one of the few, I think, that feels modern at the same time because it's a little bit more choiceful, because some of the Japanese guitars at that point were all over the place, and they some of the design decisions they maybe weren't editing as much. They were just everybody's trying to get something new and weird. But that is a beautiful looking guitar.
It is.
Yeah, and the neck is like a slight V. You know what I mean? Like a lot of Japanese guitars from that period, you know, it's got a slight, it's not a C, it's more of a V.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, most of those that I've owned from that era or have I would call it a D because the necks are so thick.
No, it's actually fairly small and thin. And
well, Yamahas have always been that way.
Yeah.
That's a cool
What color
guitar.
did you refinish it?
It's like a matte copper.
Ooh.
Yeah, it looks
man.
cool. Looks cool.
Matte copper.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a matte copper penny.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's fun.
yeah.
Hey, that's my stage name, Matt Copperpenny.
Yeah, because you know I've kind of been doing a lot of like my Pacificas kind of have those colors and stuff, so I wanted to kind of continue. So when if you look at the rack, they all kind of
Yeah.
look like they go together.
Nice.
Yeah. Super cool.
Creates a nice color palette.
Right on. Well, we don't want to take too much of your time, but if there's anything else that you had to say, get off your chest.
I quit.
No, I'm good. Okay. No, it's just honestly just fun to hang out with you guys and
Thank
talk
you.
about music. And
well, thanks
whatever.
for coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, we really enjoy having you.
No,
Yeah.
I love it.
Cool.
That's what I mean. That's why I said, like when I came, I said, no, we got to do it.
Yeah,
Let's do
I
it.
appreciate that.
No,
I really
no,
do,
no.
and I know that our audience does too. And not only because
Oh, you
we
know what I
talked
got to
about-
tell
yeah?
you? You
Oh,
know
what's that?
the fuzz pedal.
Yeah.
That you guys made.
Fez.
The Fez. Incredible sounding pedal.
Oh, right on. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
That is super cool. When we're working on Fez 2 right now.
I don't know
and
if it's going to beat
actually,
the first one. It's a good pedal.
Well, only in it's got more control. So we're giving it a little bit more functionality, and it's going to be flocked in hot pink in honor of our friend Jeff here because he was the first one that got to play it. So
Yeah.
anyways,
I like it.
we've got a little would you rather, I think, Jared.
So on this special episode, we're going to do a special Would You Rather. And trust me, it's special. Would you rather? So
silky.
there's two dimensions. You've got dimension A and dimension B. You got to play a gig, and you can choose the dimension you want. So the first gig
Dimension
that you
A.
can choose, it's a high-paying corporate gig, $7,000 each. But you're going to be in an 80s band set. So you got to wear the silver spandex with ankle bracelets, white high-top tennis shoes.
Okay, 80s hard rock metal.
Yeah.
Hard rock metal,
Okay.
like with
It's-
the big
it's-
hair,
yeah.
the see-through net shirt. all-
Sunset Boulevard.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can use any equipment you want.
Yes.
Or
Or
the other dimension that you would take in the other world you live in, it would be a free show. It's like a homecoming free show, but you're going to be with your very first band you were ever with the same equipment that you actually had in real life, and you're going to play in front of 10,000 people.
Ooh.
So
So
the
a
first
club
one-
gig or 10,000.
With the original equipment that you
Right. Okay.
10,000 people, but it's a
tricky.
free. It's a free show.
I think I
though.
threw up a little in my mouth.
Yeah.
So
I've joked many times about my original equipment.
Yes.
So the two bads are you have to wear the 80s stuff,
Yeah.
unless you enjoy it, which that's fine.
Oh yeah, that's what I
Or-
wear on the weekends.
Yeah.
You have to entertain 10,000 people with the first
Oh, my
setup
God.
you ever had.
Okay. Well, Tony,
So since these are altered dimensions, does that also mean that I won't be as fat as I am, so that when I wear the mesh shirt, it won't be quite as offensive?
No. It's a modern dimension.
Oh no.
Yeah. In fact, it might be exacerbated because you've had to time travel, so
Oh yeah.
it might be
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, that whole light speed stuff really messes with you.
It's like, in a vacuum, everything expands. So
I'm gonna go with Dimension A.
The 80s?
Yeah, why not? I think it's fun, and there's some really cool gear. I mean, I'd get the old Marshall stack out, and maybe I know what I would get.
well, you get your choice. You don't have to be stuck with that.
Anything you want because it's make believe.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, why not have a Marshall stack if that's what that's?
Yeah,
and
there you go.
of course, the guitars of the of the day. You remember the old pointy gilds?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You have to have the custom painted pointy gilds. And, yeah, that would be fun. Because, my original gear and original band, well, I mean, we did okay. Which was in the 80s, by the way. So I'm going to change.
Just.
No.
Okay.
No. That's 1982 is when I started.
That's what I mean, just.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Just out of the 70s. So, no, that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
Despite the disgusting wardrobe, I'll stand in back.
Jared?
That's tough because, well, my first guitar was one of those half-pint Harmony or Sears guitars, and it had the 2 single coils, and it had a volume and a tone.
That's all you need.
Oh,
You just described like 80% of the guitars on the market, though.
He's talking about like the.
It's a half-pint. It's really
Oh,
small.
half-pint.
It's just
Gotcha.
a small.
Okay.
It's a full scale, but it's just
Okay.
really.
thin
Yes.
and very
Oh,
small
it's
body.
Yeah.
It looked like a ukulele on you.
And I'm glad I got it. Yeah, I'm still thankful I got it. But
Do you
today
still have it?
I would. Yes, I do.
I knew it.
It's hanging up in my basement, so I never forget where I came from. You know what I mean? But
So
yeah,
what-
definitely doing the 80s thing.
Me and Jared.
And I'm going to look utterly, unappealing.
Are you gonna do a crop top?
Yeah, whatever I got to do.
What does it
I
say?
don't care.
You're gonna need bigger pants.
But I'll have to get the largest electric guitar, like one of those. What's that big bass that Gene Simmons plays?
The
That
axe?
crazy looking,
The battle axe one?
or the bat shaped, or maybe it is a battle axe. Or
I mean,
biggest
he's kind of
guitar I
famous
could
for the
find.
battle axe.
Well, the biggest
To
things
cover
you play were like grabbers and rippers.
Yeah.
Those,
Well, whatever.
But those are basses.
Yeah.
Just anything, the largest guitar made to cover up
An
the shame.
L6S.
There you go. Okay, L6S or a big Birdland, right? Or
Yeah,
one of
Ted
those.
Nugent played that.
And
Wait,
Uncle
did you
Ted.
say Paul or Gene? I thought you said Gene.
He said Gene.
I
Yeah,
said
okay.
Gene, which is a bass player. But
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
just
I
saying.
was
just
He could be a bass
He could,
player.
he could. He could
yeah,
do
I'll
it.
be the bass player.
Yeah,
I'll
he
be
could
the
be
I
a
bass
like
player.
that.
Just
I bet you'd be a
biggest
good bass
bass.
player.
Yeah, to cover up the shameful look.
Yes, Jeff. What are you doing?
Definitely Dimension A.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like can't decide my rig. You know what I mean? I would definitely Dimension A, and I, I've often thought of this because I graduated high school in 1992, and so I was in the garage in the 80s, and we were playing Cinderella, Warrant,
That's awesome.
that kind of stuff. Guns N' Roses, even,
Kicks.
No, I mean, I liked Kicks, you know what I mean, but we
What?
weren't playing, that kind of stuff. No, we weren't playing super heavy. We were more into like the Hollywood glam,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, because that was just down the,
Yeah.
just up the road. And I always thought, like, man, if I was born 2 or 3 years earlier, I absolutely would have been running around on the strip in one of those outfits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Would've loved that.
it's funny, when I started high school, I remember the first day of high school, I'd never seen so many Guns N' Roses t-shirts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then by the end, it was Nirvana, Pearl
yeah.
Jam, Smashing Pumpkins,
Yeah.
Yep.
the alternative revolution had taken place. But, so my Dimension A, I'm going to get very elaborate here. So
Do
I'll
it.
start with the guitar. Bruce Kulick from Kiss used to play these Charvels that were, I look for them on Reverb and stuff and time, but they have the pointy, because most early Charvels have like the Fender type,
Yeah.
headstock, but there was an era where they had the
Like
pointy,
a Jackson style.
Yeah, the Jackson style. Because I mean, I still get confused on how the two companies merged and all that kind of stuff. But has the Jackson style headstock with the Charvel logo, usually single pickup.
The tilted single
Yeah.
pickup.
Not necessarily tilted, but then some kind of locking tremolo system. Floyd
Color.
Yeah. He had this gold sparkle one that looked really cool. Gold's
I can't say no to Gold Spar.
And then I'm gonna go for. I think I gotta have a rack. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go with the rack, and I'm gonna
Lexicon.
use the 80A MP1 preamp. If I, because I'm rocking the big stages, I'm gonna use a Mesa Boogie power amp.
Nice.
definitely have some Roland STD 3000 delays, some Lexicon delays, the whole MIDI system. Yeah. And then at least and run it stereo with, 2 Marshall 412s.
Nice.
That's my rig.
Yep.
No, I stop at 412s. Double stack, full stacks. Come on.
2 full stacks.
Yes.
And then a bunch of fake.
Yeah.
But back then
Fake
those
stats.
weren't fake. Those they were still had the full
Wall
force up.
sound
Yeah.
type of deal. Yeah.
Well, maybe this. Are we starting a band? Is that what's happening? Is that
Yes,
I'm there
we
too,
call it
man.
Dimension A. Man.
I'm doing the same thing because we're
So good.
we're basically almost coming out of the same era.
No
It's
one wants to play on their shitty first gear.
No, it's terrible. And
I should have rethought that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna play Gazaris for this one, and we're going to. I have a full stack of PV, just big, giant,
White PVs?
just a big wall of PVs. And I'm
Are you in a country band?
no, dude. PV was like huge in that scene.
They were.
So I'm going PV because I always thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a white on white Explorer.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm doing. And I'm gonna have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great question.
That was a fun
Good
that,
one.
That
Yeah.
was actually really fun.
yeah,
Jared's 2 for 2 this week.
I know. Fantastic.
Creative juices.
We do have a few people to thank really quick, and then we're gonna let our friend Jeff go here because he's got to entertain a cast of
Millions
thousands.
of people this evening.
I've seen a million faces.
Yes.
Rock them all. Yeah.
Going to be a guitar hero.
Yeah.
So at this point of the show, Todd,
Yes.
in addition to thanking Jeff for being here,
Yes.
we'd like to thank our executive producers.
That's right.
Now, you might be wondering, what is an executive producer? And more importantly, how can I become one?
Yes.
Quite simple. Go over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple different levels in which you can participate. Become a sponsor, a patron of this very podcast. Each level comes with a great bevy of thank you gifts. But as an executive producer, here's one thing's more. Jeff, what is that?
Oh boy, you're gonna put him on the spot.
You
get
get
to-
all kinds of access to content on the site.
There you go. That's one answer.
That's one answer.
Yeah.
Jared,
You get to have your name read on the thing too.
your name read on the thing. That's what I'm going to do right now. Sorry, Jeff, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, I knew it was something like that.
So special thanks to these executive producers: Moon Guitars, Vader and Pedals, Drew Lopez, John Halverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mikey D, Richard Kendall, Mark Garton, Matt Hart, James White, Justin Jones, Anthony Gemolero, Bilgola Guitars, John Esterly, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, John Anglin, Tom Resin, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk from Wonderful Audio Technology. What? David Poe, Don Kloss, Gregory Randall, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer.
Yes, brand new Eric Hemmer.
That's right.
Brand
You just
new.
joined us, so thank
Welcome.
you. Welcome.
Well, that was a pretty
Todd,
fine
stop interrupting me.
list.
Because there's another group of
that's
executive
right.
producers. We call them our grand poobahs.
That's right.
These fine people have a fez to place
An
upon
orange
their
fez.
head and wear during podcasts. Although our last grand poobah had given his
I think his son stole it.
son
let's be
stole
honest.
his
Took it to
fez
school.
and apparently
Yeah.
wears it every day to school.
Yeah.
So he's going to have some psychiatric
Good
bills.
representation.
Anyhow, special thanks to these grand poobahs: Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Higuereta, David Kaminga, Brandon Wound Pickups,
Yep.
Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler, KC Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Adam Johnson, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik from 12th Hour Devices. You know, it's 12 o'clock 2 times a day.
That's right.
Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. And Eddie Serratos. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you all so very much. Keep this thing going, chugging away. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, always my pleasure.
I, without going through all of your various
accolades,
things, if you want to point somebody somewhere to anything.
Just use actually my Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, there's a link tree to all my other stuff too. That's the easiest.
Right on.
That's the easiest portal.
Right on. And you actually do post quite a bit of content, which is cool.
I do. I
Yeah.
cleared it all for this one. I'm starting, it's like new era.
Nice.
So yeah, so lots of fun stuff.
Good. Tony?
Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the things that I have available for sale. But by and large, what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email.
Yeah.
There's a link right on the website.
We actually saw a lot of it today. We brought in a bunch of guitars for Jeff to look at.
Some of your goldy glitter
Actually,
stuff.
all of those had your stuff on there.
Well,
I believe.
no.
No,
Chase.
the one didn't. Yes.
Yes.
Anyways.
Yeah. Anyhow, and shoot me an email. Let me know what you need, what you want, what you're trying to do, and I will take very good care of you.
Right on, Jared.
If you want to ask me anything about pickups, pickup gear, or any of the sort, jared.allen.brandon Instagram.
There
Find
you go.
me. Yep, it's a long name, but you'll find me.
All right. You can shoot me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com, or send me a DM on Instagram at guitarknobs. We'd love to hear your would you rathers, like this fine one that Jared just came up with out of his own brain right here. And we love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening. And if you are able to, please get out and go see the Pumpkins do their thing, because it is a spectacle for sure. You're going to love it. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic Guitar Week. Subscribe.
Yep.
And I'm sure let me rephrase that. I started out with a mid-sentence thing.
I'm sure. Todd, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to already. I'm sure.
I know. It's so bad. It's terrible form. Poor form.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.